We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
You're listening to the Bloodybits Horror Show with your host, Eddie the Axe.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Bloodybits Horror Show. I am your host, Eddie the Axe Jefferson, and joining me this week, I have a very, very special guest. Somebody I've been waiting to get on this show for a long fucking time. Nichols Fellowship Screenwriting Contest quarterfinalist and the Blood List runner-up in the year 2014, Alyssa from the popular Twitter handle at Alyssa Adventures. Alyssa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I have a bratty baby on my lap. You will hear it.
Yeah, you have a very bratty baby on your lap. That's going to come up. She is eating your monitor cords.
Yeah, my cans.
She's eating your cans right now.
And my cans cord.
But so Alyssa, how are you doing today? Splendid. So I've been wanting to get you on the podcast for a little while now. Uh-huh. You've been sort of like the John to my Paul, or maybe like the Dave Grohl to my Kurt Cobain in this podcast so far, in that you've been the actually kind of the brains and the power behind it. While I've given you my unmolded clay, you have been sculpting it and shaping it and forming it into each and every episode. Mm-hmm. And I guess just thank you for that, first of all, because I just started editing half of an episode today. And so I feel your pain.
Mm-hmm. You've been going pretty quick through it, though.
Yeah.
It took me like 3 weeks to figure out what I was doing.
I might not be doing as good of a job of it as you are, but I guess we'll find that out. So, as you know, the purpose of this podcast is to discuss horror with people.
That was not me.
The baby did just fart. That was the baby farting, not Alyssa, for once. The purpose of the podcast is to discuss horror with people, specifically like things that influenced them or were formative to them in some way or shape or form in horror. But you gave me a great and wonderful gift in that you said, I didn't do any prep work.
Yeah.
So, excuse you. That one was you.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So we're going to be riffing on a topic of my choosing. However, I do want to talk to you a little bit about horror and how you got interested in that genre specifically, because a lot of your writing is either
it's a darker genre,
directly or indirectly horror. Mm-hmm. Thematically, and why is that? What got you into horror? What started your passion for that?
I'm not sure where it started, unless we're talking about like me cowering behind a couch while my dad watches horror films.
Okay, like what kind of horror films?
Like the cat snapping one. What's that?
The cat snapping horror film, that would be Sleepwalkers. Stephen King.
That's one that sticks with me.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the only one that sticks with me. But I started getting into like Korean horror fairly early on just because I like the anticipation that it builds up.
Okay.
I find that to be really stressful, and stress is what gets me.
That's interesting because you hate it and yet you're drawn to it.
Well, it's controlled there.
Oh, okay.
Like it can be exciting. It's not my stress.
So it was Korean horror that got you into the horror genre.
Yeah, I don't know how I came to that. I thought maybe I was trying to avoid some tropes with Japanese horror also because I like to avoid what is very popular.
Yeah, famously, you like to you get pissed
to my
off
detriment.
To your detriment. Like one of your favorite artists or musicians right now, Marilyn Manson. Mm-hmm. He was popular though, so you didn't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you avoided.
Good fart. I grew up with a lot of siblings.
Okay.
And they would always steal my shit. So it was really important to me to find stuff that was separate from them that they wouldn't want to be interested in.
You didn't want people like biting on your style.
Yeah, I fucking hate. Like they would physically steal my shit. So to avoid them stealing what I was into, mm-hmm. I would go for very obscure things. And like nobody wanted horror in that household, so that could be mine.
Okay, so that makes sense. That's interesting. But you started that with Korean horror.
Yeah. Again, this was what the aughts.
Yeah, so
perhaps?
like 2010, 2011, maybe?
Yeah. So everyone, like, Japanese horror was big. It was just sort of hitting, I think, here.
Right. So with, like, The Grudge or
The Ring that
or One
sort
Missed
of,
Call.
Yeah. Yeah. All that shit hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'd like it, but I can't. So let me sidestep and go to Korean, because nobody's appreciating Korean horror.
Okay.
And it's similar, but it's not as, I don't know how to, it's not 100% angry ghost girl, where a lot of Japanese horror seems to be revenge horror.
Okay.
So yeah, I would try to aim for like the more thoughtful, like Old Boy, and like
I don't know if I call Old Boy horror.
Dude.
I mean, it's horrific eventually. But like, I think one of the first ones that you introduced me to specifically were the Wishing Stairs.
That is very similar.
And The Host.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse you, man.
Sorry, I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. So Wishing Stairs is very similar to Japanese horror in that it's just the haunted little girl revenge horror.
The Whispering Corridors series of films really caught me, because the first one I saw was Memento Mori, which is the second not Wishing Stairs. It's the second Whispering Corridors film.
Right.
And it featured a gay couple, like two women. Good fart, baby. You're really punctuating it. Here I thought her crying was going to be a problem, but it's her farts.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We can cut it out in post. You're the editor, so edit.
Oh, I'm leaving farts.
Okay.
How can
You've actually added farts to episodes, so
I'm going to isolate them and save them.
Okay. So anyhow,
I forgot where I was.
You were talking about Whispering Corridors, Memento Mori.
Yeah, seeing a gay couple that is the center of the story was like new and intriguing to teenage me, like, because it's something I hadn't seen before. Yeah,
it was representation that wasn't necessarily for you, but maybe it felt inclusive in a way that other fiction didn't.
Yeah, it felt good.
It felt good.
Good fart. Can we slow down though? What's happening? Oh well, she's happy.
Yeah, it felt different to you. It felt good to see this representation, even though it wasn't representation of you.
It made me it made me think in a way that a lot of horror hadn't made me think before.
Okay.
So I wanted to find more of that, and that led me down this bizarre, scary path.
Yeah. So you went from there, from the I guess K horror. You can't call it J horror. So K horror.
Yeah.
Where did you go from there, though? Did you stick with Korean horror?
Yeah, it's kind of my jam still.
Still.
Just the way they build a story. Like, their film has always been a lot longer than what we would accept here for the longest time.
Okay.
Like, today you see like a film that's 2.5 hours, and you're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with that. Like, that's been a lot of Korean horror.
It's definitely more challenging to delve into something like that. But I've got a guest who's coming up, and one of their selections that they were fighting between was the film they chose and Train to Busan, which is an excellent horror. Mm-hmm. But they went the other direction with it, though. So
it's a good movie.
Yeah, very, very good. So then you kind of. Do you think that influences your writing?
I think the way they set up scares and the way that they really make you afraid of what's happening in your head more than what's actually going to happen on screen I don't know. That's exciting to me.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to fuck with people is very intriguing.
So
it's a psychology aspect of writing horror, and
that's like a control thing.
Is it I don't know. I mean, I'm
for
kind
me,
of
it is. Like I love the idea of being able to kind of predict or dictate the response you're going to get out of the person. Mm-hmm. That's part of me. Like I like to try to be a funny person. To make people laugh, and that's out of a sick need that I have to be accepted and to make people feel better. But your sick need is to get in their head and make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's easier for me because I'm constantly uncomfortable.
Yeah,
being
that's
funny
true.
is
That's so true.
Yeah, being funny seems way harder. Like I wish I'm sort of kind of inching into comedy because horror and comedy are so deeply meshed.
Well, that's what's so interesting is like now Jordan Peele, who's famously
funny guy, yeah,
chuckle fuck funny guy from Key and Peele, like that one of the best sketch comedy shows to come after like Chappelle Show, or I mean probably the only funny one to come after Chappelle Show, if I'm being honest. Maybe Whitest Kids You Know.
Yeah.
But he then transitions seamlessly and expertly into horror to the degree where now they don't even consider his films horror, because it's like his stuff is so elevated that calling it horror is bad. So they'll call it a genre film or elevated horror.
They've hated horror. Film industry does not like horror.
Yeah, if you listen to the previous episode of this podcast that I speak with Bobby Trippett about horror, we kind of get into that a little bit. The film industry is shitty about horror in a way that maybe they shouldn't
Which
be.
I think with Jordan Peele, they have to look at it a different... Good fart. They have...
Wow. That's a very good point.
Look at it a different way. Good. Yeah. I like what you're bringing to the table, baby.
Yeah.
So they're kind of forced to acknowledge horror now in a way that they weren't before Get Out, let's say, because that was such a big deal in the film industry.
Because he like George Romero did many years ago, he brings social issues into horror as a and uses it as like a social commentary. Like Get Out is really all about racism.
Right.
And he specifically said he wrote it because he felt uncomfortable when he would be walking in a suburb to go date a woman, and he's like, I feel unsafe here. Which, as a white person, you could maybe feel that way in a neighborhood you would consider to be a ghetto or whatever. You know what I mean?
Gotta really put that white stink on.
I had to, because like I don't think that way. I've lived in the gnarliest fucking places. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not afraid of that kind of shit. But
the ghetto.
The ghetto.
Chateau.
It could be worse. I could be Elvis Presley singing about it after he stole black culture. So,
what?
Did he sing Elvis Presley did the song In the Ghetto, like literally.
Nice.
Yeah, singing about starving black people. So, and what's interesting is he said, Jordan Peele, not Elvis Presley, that for him horror is you just do all of the setup of comedy and then you take away the punchline. So there's no relief at the end of that setup of the making somebody uncomfortable.
That is such a very a sweet way to put it.
It's very
but for
kind.
Somebody that can't really do comedy, it hurts a little. A little hurt.
The better one that I heard and I talked about in the last podcast is that horror is drama taken to its furthest extreme.
Yeah. I
think it is probably the easier, like the simpler way of writing horror.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So
it's
then,
like there's an easy formula to horror that you could try to follow. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's a second hardest genre because what scares people varies so much. But what makes people laugh is even more difficult to nail down. And it changes over the decades. While what's scary doesn't really change ever.
That's definitely true. Like, we're in an era now where comedy is very difficult, but horror is very simple.
I don't think comedy's difficult. It has to be new. It always has to be new because otherwise it's hack. Like, there's a term for it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, comedy, you could previously do slapstick or physical comedy, and that was a thing for up until probably like the late 90s. It was fine.
Yeah, it's changed.
And now that's gone.
It's changed. I don't think it's gone necessarily.
Where with horror, I think we're back to the system they live kind of
That
thing.
never gets old. It was relevant 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
It's more relevant now.
I mean, yeah.
I think like literally the rich grinding us up and using us is way more relevant now than it was 5 years ago.
Let's not spill what I'm writing.
Let's not spill what you're writing. So speaking of things that you were writing, you then moved your influences of horror over to the video game industry. In that you got into forcing your siblings to play horror games.
No, those bitches wouldn't play.
Oh, you would play.
I had to play.
Okay.
I needed emotional support to play.
Oh. So what were...
The first game I tackled, the first horror... I mean, unless you're counting, like, fucking water level in Mario with the goddamn eel.
We'll have another, like, a bonus episode that's like, what is horror in a video game?
That counts. The sunken ship eel.
So
that counts.
I would define horror, like a survival horror game, as a fear of taking action preventing you from playing the game.
Yeah, I couldn't fucking go down there.
Yeah, so that's horror for you. Uh-huh. I don't think Mario 64 was intentionally a survival horror game.
Everyone knows that fucking eel is terrible.
You're also terrified of clipping out of a 3D environment. But
yeah, that's fucked.
The actual proper, if you Googled it would be defined as a horror video game. What would that be?
The first one I played?
Yeah.
Oh, the first one I tackled was Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Which is also the first one I really fell in love with. Mm-hmm. So much so that I then wrote the adaptation for.
Yeah. You became kind of obsessed with, you would say?
I found that video game when I was 15-ish.
Okay.
A little late. Mm-hmm. I can't math, but it had been out for a few years. It was in the bargain bin.
Yeah. You got it on the Xbox, right? Mm-hmm. At the bargain bin of the GameStop that was out across from the movie theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that GameStop.
Yeah. I was the kid that would gather up all the shitty games that like were from my younger siblings.
Yeah.
Because fuck them. And I would go trade them in and get them what's it called? Value? Cash value?
Bargain. Oh yeah, trade credit.
Yeah. Get the credit. Mm-hmm. Get me a new game. Beat it, return it, do this shit again. But Silent Hill, I couldn't return it. Because as soon as I started playing it, I knew it was a big deal.
What was it that immediately grabbed you from Silent Hill 2? Soundtrack, characters.
Soundtrack's amazing.
Soundtrack is incredible.
Who gives a shit about the character? I mean, the characters are okay. You're meant to like Sunderland, but he's a jackass.
He's a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit, and he's also like the voice actor. Not very good.
Yeah, not incredibly. I mean, but that was kind of the
charm of it. Will you say?
Well, Resident Evil famously had some of the worst voice acting ever. Like that was just of its time.
Yeah, but you don't want to be giggling. I mean, I guess maybe if you're trying to just push
now
through
you
the movie.
Like if you were to remake Silent Hill 2 as a video game, you would have to have voice acting that made you giggle. That's the only way it works.
No,
you want it serious. You want it dead fucking. You want PT. You want Hideo Kojima.
I want to poop my pants.
Yeah. Well, you need to be able to play VR then, because that's the future.
I can't do that.
That will be the future of horror video games. I actually guarantee it.
I worry about my heart in that situation.
Poor missus.
But also Vertigo doesn't really let me play VR much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, the first time I played Silent Hill 2, I would have to pause it to breathe, but also I would be making notes because I knew I was going to write the screenplay. Mm-hmm. And it took me like 13 years, I think, to actually sit down and adapt it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I don't even think I used my original notes. I made fresh notes.
13 years. That's such a passion project. That's crazy to me.
I even stalked because Christoph Gans is doing the next Silent Hill film. I hear it's in pre-production, which is driving me nuts because I wrote this script. I've had it for years. I have it.
Yeah, you've had your manager like try to hound people about it, which is funny.
I don't think my manager has ever really put that much into this one.
Well, you've
just 'cause
asked him to maybe.
Yeah. So I went around him, which is probably not something good to do, and we probably shouldn't hear this.
Right.
I went around him. I went to Christoph Gans's agent. And I was like, hey, buddy, we know each other, right?
Yeah.
No.
We know Silent Hill, right?
I heard about this project. Are you guys going to be accepting pitch requests? Because I want to throw my hat in, please. Pretty please.
That's good. It would be great to get that picked up. I've read that screenplay. It's very good. Silent Hill 2 is such a challenging piece of fiction.
Yeah.
In that...
To adapt something like that, like, just the beginning of it, where you're walking through a forest for, like, 5 minutes, that's... In the game, that's to create isolation. But, like, if you were just watching some asshole walk through the forest for 5 minutes in the beginning of a movie, you're going to turn that shit off.
Well, unless the title screen came up in a really bad blue font.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was a good tracking shot from a helicopter.
And it's a Kubrick film.
And it was a Kubrick film called The Shining.
Yeah.
So they kind of did that there, but, you know.
Well, yeah. But, like, I don't know. The fact that it's interactive as a video game is very necessary to Silent Hill.
It helps a lot. It really does.
But then, like, you also run into, like, the puzzles and, like, the cult shit and a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter. It's not as interesting as the main storyline of Silent Hill 2.
It's to stretch the gameplay out because otherwise, if you spent $60 on it, you would feel bad if it was only like a 4 or 8 hour experience.
It is only a 10-hour experience, doubled backwards.
Yeah, but nowadays we're getting to the point where game development is so much cheaper, and you can create a 2 to 4 hour game that you can price out for $8 to $10. That's a horror game. And it's totally worth it. We've gotten better about that stuff. So after the Silent Hill era of your horror, I know we kind of met and we started... Kind of. And we started watching horror stuff together. Uh-huh. In that I was like, you should watch Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, that was when we first met, we gave each other like homework, like movies that we needed to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was always horror, but some of it for sure was.
Yeah, of course. And then now...
we would like analyze it after, like, hey, what did you think? What did you think of this that happened? And what did that mean to you? We're like, like testing each other.
A little bit. I mean, it's also just kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And then we were...
Just the anxiety that built in me.
Oh, that's perfect then. That's what you love, is the building of the anxiety. That's why you love horror as a genre.
That's like me day drinking for a meeting. When it's over, it's great. But being on the spot in the moment sucks.
And then we've been together for a little while, and a little series came out on Netflix. For us, but it came out other places in the world before then, and that series was called Black Mirror, a reference to when you look at your cell phone or your monitor or whatever, your TV screen, while the power is off of it, it is black, and yet it reflects you back at you. Black Mirror. So the subject today that we're covering, because you are allowing me to be the one covering it, is...
Yeah, you're the guest. I'm guesting,
no.
And you're the guest.
You're being very lovely with me, and I appreciate it so much. You're allowing me to talk about the first episode of Black Mirror, National Anthem.
Yeah, your favorite ep.
The best episode of Black Mirror.
I disagree, but your favorite ep.
As far as horror goes, the best episode of Black Mirror. There are other episodes.
It definitely made me squirm.
That are better, but are not horror. This is definitely horror.
Okay.
So the episode 1 of Black Mirror National Anthem was written by Charles Booker. It was actually the third episode that he pitched after the episode 15 Million Merits. Do you remember that one?
I don't think so.
It was the people that were pedaling on bicycles to earn merits so that they could potentially go on a show. And then the girl that he liked did, but then she ended up doing porn. And then he was sad. Yeah. It was not a great episode. And another episode that they never produced. Those were the first two that Charles Booker pitched. However, National Anthem was the first episode of the series to air. It aired on December 4th of 2011, a little while ago. The episode had 1.9 million viewers, alongside a lot of complaints to the British version of the FCC, the Office of Communication, or Ofcom. They received 145 complaints the night that it aired. That was the 8th highest number of complaints anything got in the UK.
Is it because it's shocking?
Yeah, the complaints ranged from the use of profanity to themes of bestiality, kidnapping, suicide, terrorism, and torture.
Yeah, I could see all that.
Yeah. It was considered a middling episode of the series by basically all critics except for Matt Elfring of GameSpot, of all places, who considered it the best of the first series.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the background of this episode. And from there, I guess we'll get into the beats of it, as you would, the film person, say.
Yeah. Did you sneak up here and watch it before?
I watched it not before by sneaking up here. I watched it on my cell phone a couple of days ago and took the beats down. I've seen it a few times, and I've written an article about this.
Is that when you go back? Because I know you go back to Breaking Bad every now and then just to relive it.
Breaking Bad's really good.
It is.
Vince Gilligan's incredibly talented, but I would say Better Call Saul is better.
Yes.
Just because, I don't know, Bob Odenkirk is such a good actor. So, in this episode, we have a British Prime Minister, Michael Callow, who's played by Rory Kinnear, and he's woken up in the middle of the night to learn that Princess Suzanne, who's kind of the Princess Diane stand-in, kind of a beloved royal, has been kidnapped. A video has been uploaded to YouTube demanding a ransom for her, saying, hey, if you don't give in to our demands, or my demands, I'm going to kill her at 4 p.m. today. I only have one demand. It's very simple. This British Prime Minister, Michael Callow, has to have full, unsimulated sexual intercourse with a pig live on national television.
To save a life.
To save a life. And we don't know what his motive is. So immediately the guy, Michael Callow, looks around. He's like, okay, you guys are all taking the piss. You're fucking around. This is a joke. And everybody's very, very stern with him. And they're like, no. And
you must fuck this pig.
There's an interesting thing with this scene. And it's been a while since you've seen this episode.
Yeah, it's been years.
So in this scene, in the little war room that they're in, I noticed on reviewing it that everybody in here, including him, is cast in kind of a black and white just due to the harsh lighting. Except for the screen is illuminated, and it is casting light onto the hand of Home Secretary Alex, who's the kind of older, more stately woman who is in control here. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that might be intentional or maybe not. I don't know.
Usually what you see is intentional. Just what does it mean?
Right.
Or is it like meant to be interesting, but it's not, that doesn't allude to anything? It's just meant to make you think when there's really nothing. Like, I feel like sometimes some directors do that.
Like, I could see David Lynch maybe does that a little bit, and that's why you hate him.
That was who I wanted to say, but I didn't, because there are Lynch stands.
That's why you dislike David Lynch's movies.
I don't dislike his movies.
You thought Mulholland Drive was a piece of shit.
Yeah, I said those words too.
Yeah, specifically. So Alex and her team, they're ordering a special team to try to do CGI of the man fucking the pig. All the while, Mike, the prime minister, he sets out a task force to try to track down the source of the video. Mm-hmm. Right? And they figure out, okay, well, the video originally and uncompressed was like 57 megs, and then it was uploaded to YouTube. So we're searching around and pinpointing all the places where an uncompressed 57 meg file was sent to YouTube. Impossible, because, it's YouTube.
It's the future or something, right?
There's a bagillion things being sent to them every second, but whatever. It was kind of quaint.
You can trace that stuff. I just don't know how. I know they've done it before, though.
You could trace the source of a file, potentially, but it wouldn't be based on the size of the file being uploaded.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And the time that it was uploaded. Yeah, so Mike's whole thing is like, okay, well, it's cool. It just stays in this room. We're not going to tell anybody about it, yada, yada. And then they're like, no, it was on YouTube. It's already over. Like, this shit is being tweeted 10,000 times an hour. It's been re-uploaded 6 times every time we try to take it down. It's a problem. However, because of the way that the government and the media are tied in England, they put out an informal order to the media saying, hey, news channels, you're not allowed to cover this. And so the news channels are not going to talk about it, even though everybody is. And we cut to kind of like the people in the street, like, what the fuck's going? Like, literally, I'm seeing the princess here who's going to die unless this guy fucks a pig. Why aren't you talking about it? All you're talking about is like sandwich recipes.
Censorship.
Yeah, censorship, but I mean, I kind of get why they're doing the censorship, but at the same point, like,
you
I don't
can't
know.
hide things. I mean,
once
it touches the
genie
internet,
is out of the bottle,
yeah,
you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, that's how that whole phrase goes.
Specifically, that whole phrase.
Yeah.
So then they hire a porn star to fuck the pig, like you do, and it's.
Do you think you could do that? I mean, they paid somebody to fart on a cake, but do you think you could? Oh man, I've seen some terrible things.
Yeah.
The people they had to have taken money for. If they didn't take money for it, they're fucking stupid.
I'm sure they got paid. No, I couldn't.
You don't think there's a porn star alive today who you could be like, here's a
could
chunk
I
of
pay
money.
a porn star to do that? I thought you were asking if I could fuck the pig. No. Could I pay a porn? Yeah, absolutely.
You think? Wow.
There are straight porn stars, males, who got their start by doing gay porn, and
Are you drawing a parallel to?
I'm saying if you have no sexual attraction to a living being and have to have sex with it, there are ways that can take place.
I don't think porn stars are always into each other when they fuck each other.
Medication or whatever.
It's socially acceptable to fuck a person.
Yeah, that's true. But what if you're, I don't know, it's like they also
you're
could be
desperate?
homophobic, but desperate.
But then I don't think you're probably not a porn star if you're homophobic.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't
A
know
working
if,
homophobe.
I don't know
or a
if
porn
like
star.
Ron Jeremy is the most progressive guy, but he's a porn star.
No, I don't know that a lot of porn stars that are quite progressive.
Right.
I'm just wondering.
I don't know.
I've seen terrible things. So like I never considered bestiality being bought. I don't know what I'm saying.
It definitely takes place.
I know it takes place. I just thought it was somebody's private yum, like Mr. Hands.
Yeah, that didn't work out well for Mr.
Well,
Hands.
yeah, but he wasn't. I mean, he was doing porn, but he wasn't doing porn.
Yeah, no, it was for private use. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So they hire this porn star to fuck the pig, and the idea is, hey, we hired a rogue filmmaker to superimpose and do some green screening effects.
How are you gonna mock that up so quick, so short notice?
Well, he actually the film guy says like, I don't think this is fucking possible, and they're like, well, you're gonna try because
he's gotta fuck a pig.
Somebody's gotta fuck a pig, and if the PM does it, like that's a problem. As we see this guy, Rod Senseless, that's the porn star's name. Great porn star name.
Yeah.
As they're talking to him, they're like, yeah, you gotta go in here and do the thing. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go in there and do the thing. And some guy just walks up to him and takes a picture of him. Hey, Rod. And he's with all these like British equivalent of Secret Service agents. So it's like, ah, shit. Somebody took a picture. They're probably going to put it up on Twitter, and now it's over. Right?
Okay.
Big problem. So that's where we're seeing that the Alex, her team's move to try to stop this from happening is getting fucked with. Now, the Prime Minister's move is, well, we're trying to, figure out where this file was uploaded from and find her and rescue the princess and take the guy out. But all the while they're tracking this down, one of his interns, one of his government staffers, he's flirting with a reporter, this lady reporter. And she's like, look, man, maybe if you give me any leads you might have, maybe I might be kind of friendly with you. And he's like, well, I can't do that or I'll get fired. But then they find out, it was uploaded from this one location. It was an abandoned college where they look at the GPS over a time lapse and they see, there's a light on at 3 a.m. at this abandoned college. And so then the reporter lady goes and she takes like a nude and she sends it to the staffer, the intern of the Prime Minister. And he's like, okay, well, I shouldn't tell you this, but we're going to be going here to go figure it out because I want to fuck you. Mm-hmm. You know,
that's how that works.
He's thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like Anthony Weiner got fired for like trying to get nudes from minors and shit, and that's a government guy, right?
I don't understand the connection, but yes, that happened.
Well, you're saying like I don't think a government guy would solicit nudes.
I didn't
from
say
somebody.
a word.
Well, you said, well, that's what would happen.
That wasn't facetious.
Oh, okay. So you're on board.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I thought you were disbelieving the story so far.
Well,
I mean,
it is a work of fiction.
Yeah. So then the cops are like, all right, we're going to go raid the place. And the reporter is like, okay, I'm not going to bring a camera, but I'm going to be live streaming it from my cell phone.
That's a camera.
That's a camera, but I mean, like, not a proper on-your-shoulder camera. She's doing some guerrilla photography.
Yeah.
Kind of reminiscent of the protests that are going on now with the police and how people are filming them with their cameras and catching some shit that maybe shouldn't be happening.
That would have been fairly early in this game.
Well, 2011, that wasn't going on. Today is 2020.
I know,
now,
that's
of
what
course.
I'm saying.
So both of these plans are starting to fail. They go to the building. The cops they're doing the breach and clear. They're slicing the pie. They got their big guns out and they're throwing tear gas in there. They get into the room and there's a mannequin with a laptop tied to it.
What a waste of a laptop. Like, why are you gonna set that up? I guess visually
it's the only way to be like,
handy.
oh shit, he was running a proxy here. They're looking for human-shaped figures in the area that they just flooded with tear gas while they're wearing their masks and they have their guns out.
Visually it looks great.
And then they see another human that's moving around and they shoot it. And it's that reporter that's holding up her cell phone. So now, the cops just shot a fucking reporter.
That's fine.
Right. So now you get why they maybe set it up that way.
Yeah.
A little bit is you're building the whole, like, their tents and there's these problems and maybe one hand of the government is overacting with force where the other hand of the government is trying to overact with.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, like, why would you leave that set as the hacker, as the
funny,
the guy behind it? Couldn't that be a problem though, leaving a laptop?
Yeah, but what if you never intended to get away with it? What if you were just trying to make a political statement and you assumed you were going to die?
Okay.
Well,
I can't relate.
We'll find out about that later. So that plan fails. The other plan failed with the CGI because the hacker sends a little package over to the news studio. They open it up and, oh shit, there's a finger in it with the princess's cool ring that she always wears. And a thumb drive. They pop the thumb drive in and it's the princess crying. And the guy behind her ripping, snipping and ripping the finger off. And she's freaking the fuck out.
As he would.
And then there's text on there that's like, I told you no, trying to pull weird CGI shit. Really? This Rod senseless? It's like, oh, shit. Well, we're in trouble now. We tried to trick him and it didn't work. So now the princess has been defingered. And we've learned that we can't cheat. So I guess the Prime Minister's got to fuck a pig. Because now it's 3:20 p.m. 4 o'clock is the deadline. Okay. He's got 40 minutes. So now, all the while, starting off with this, the people responding to the news is... First, like 8% of people are like, you better do it. And everybody else is like, no, fuck that guy. Don't fuck the pig. That's gross. And now...
It's life or death.
Now, after we've seen the finger...
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, it is life or death. So now 87% of the public is like, it sucks, and we feel bad for him, but he's kind of got to do it.
But there's also this side commentary that's like, this is a terrible thing. You don't have to watch, but they're going to watch.
Well, there's not only the side commentary of you don't have to watch, but they go so far as to say anybody who owns still images or video of this after midnight, you're a criminal because this is an act of bestiality. We have to do it today, but if you own any of this footage, well, of course not, but you threaten people. Like, you don't do it, you threaten them. It's kind of like saying marijuana is illegal in America. Like, sure it is, but are they going to kick in every door?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, but they say, okay, well, we're also going to be broadcasting this sound that is like this very, very high-pitched sound that is horrible and terrible, and you don't want to hear it while this is being broadcast.
Clever. Mute.
Yeah, and everything you're coming up with right now, well, they're never going to know if I recorded it. Well, I could just mute it. That's what everybody wants to do, because everybody wants to watch this guy fuck a pig.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They can clutch their pearls, but they're going to fucking watch.
Of course they're going to watch, just like you're going to watch this episode of the show, because it's the first episode of a horror show. And the premise is this guy's got to fuck a pig.
Yeah, but we're going to complain about it after.
Yeah, but we're all going to go complain about it to, what is it, whatever, their FCC, Ofcom. So
because it's vulgar, but I sat through the whole episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he pills up and walks into the room, and they're like, don't worry, it's like a skeleton crew. There's literally just you. The pig has been sedated, and it's got a bucket full of slop.
Ew.
And there's a guy with a camera who's going to be walking around you as per the guy's directions. So there's no way that you're doing some weird green screen CGI effect shit. So he walks in there, and the lady Alex is like, listen, the other point of advice that I heard from a psychologist is you shouldn't try to do it too fast, because then people will be like, well, he enjoyed it. So
fun.
Take your time.
A little twist.
Yeah. And meanwhile, this whole time his wife has been like trying to call him because she knows what's going on. He's just not been answering the phone.
Because why? That's the last person you want to talk to about this.
Of course. Well, what are you going to say? Hey, hon, I got to go fuck a pig. See ya.
Would you consider it cheating?
Hey, listen. I'm not into it, but I gotta. It's for my country.
Then she could always be getting back at you about that strange.
Yeah. Remember that time? It was a pig you fucked. It wasn't even like a hot chick. So, yeah. I don't know. There's just nowhere to go from there. And with nowhere to go, he ends up fucking the pig. But everybody watches it.
Of course.
Everybody's in
same circumstances. Would you fuck a pig
No.
to save a life?
No.
No?
No. Fuck that life.
Me either.
You know how many lives there are? Fuck that life.
But would it haunt you forever? That you could have saved a life and you chose not to.
You know how much money I could donate to save how many lives every day? Like, I could donate $30 a day and probably in my entire life save 200 lives, let's say.
You're being a tough guy now on a podcast.
I'm not being a tough guy. I wouldn't fuck a pig. I'm being a pussy.
But to prevent somebody from getting their fucking head chopped off or something, like, you would have to watch the murder knowing that you could have prevented that murder.
I still couldn't do it.
I don't think I could either.
I still couldn't. I'm sorry. I guess I'm too much of a pussy. Like, it's too gross.
So hats off to this guy.
So hats off to this guy because he
character.
fucking does it.
Yeah.
It's time to go in now.
An unprecedented nature.
This is an official announcement. In a few minutes, the Prime Minister will perform an indecent act on your screen.
And it's funny because you watch people's reaction. They're watching it and they're like, "Oh, he's good," because he's walking in and he's crying.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, he's good." He takes his suit off.
They're into it, and then suddenly it's very real.
And they're watching it. They're like,
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
And you just hear like the sounds, and you see their faces.
Yeah.
I remember that. I haven't seen this in years.
It's so good.
And I remember it.
And yeah, all you see is from the perspective of the TV screen, the people watching it.
Yeah.
And you see like this, and hats off to them for how they directed this because it's so good. You see a percentage of people like turning away in disgust before it even happens, and then more turning away immediately as it starts happening. And then you see people like tearing up but continuing to watch it.
Yeah.
And then other people that are like going to turn the TV off, and the other people are like, wait.
Hold on, I gotta see how it ends.
This is, even though it's been going on for an hour, this is important. This is history being made. So we have to watch it.
Okay, Grandpa.
No, it's like a young guy that says that.
Sure.
It's like, ugh. So then we roll credits. and the episode's over. But it isn't over. Because
then people complain about it, which is so funny.
No, because then we know because then after the credits, the ending happens.
Oh.
Which is, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember?
I think I remember, was the girl not actually there?
Yeah, so 30 minutes before this entire thing happens, the princess is just like walking down the Millennium Bridge, which is one of the most famous like tourist trap attractions in Britain. And it's completely empty because everybody is watching this. It's right in front of the St. Paul's Cathedral. And we see her captor, who's a performance artist, and he's hanging himself by his fucking neck, and you see his hand where he cut his own finger off.
Nice.
Right. And then they find this out, and they're talking to the princess girl, and she's unharmed completely. And Alex, the lady that was like, here's, how you're going to go fuck the pig. We set this all up. The one whose hand we could see in the light of the television while everybody was black and white. Mm-hmm. She gets the call on the phone while the prime minister who just fucked the pig is puking his guts out in the men's room. And she's like, what? What? Well, no one saw her? Why? Oh, well, because they were all watching the fucking thing. Gross. Mm-hmm. Nobody tell him that.
Yeah.
So then she hangs up and she walks into the bathroom and she's like, hey, you saved the day, dude. Good job.
Yeah.
And we flash to a year later. And
oh, wow. This went on a lot longer than I remembered.
The prime minister, is still the prime minister, and his approval rating is actually 3% higher than it was the year before. The princess is fine. She's married and pregnant.
So
she's
fingers.
Going on. But we follow Mike to his home, and his wife refuses to talk to him.
Yeah.
And she just like, oh, not going to talk to your ass. Walk up to the room, and credits. We're finally actually done.
Wow. With
the episode.
Yeah. It's impactful.
It is.
But also, it's about a guy fucking a pig.
It is. It's for me, like on paper, it's perfect because it's like, I'm going to tell you a story about a man fucking a pig, but there's a lot of layers to it, and it adds. There's a lot of meta shit into it. So as far as its kind of significance, it alludes to an event that came up 4 years later, referred to as Piggate. Have you ever heard of this?
No. Everything is a gate.
So it was alleged that as a student of Oxford University, former British Prime Minister David Cameron inserted a private part of his anatomy into the mouth of a dead pig.
His toe.
His penis. As part of an initiation ceremony for the Piers Graveston Society. In the unauthorized biography of Cameron, which was titled Call Me Dave, Michael Ashcroft and Isabel Oakeshoff recount that a member of Parliament and distinguished Oxford contemporary told the anecdote out of the blue at a business dinner back in June of 2014. So there are contemporaries who are well regarded who say, yeah, this guy put his dick in a dead fucking pig's mouth.
At least it was dead.
And it was a British prime minister. So maybe the writer of this heard that story, and he's like, hey, that's a interesting inspiration to kind of tell this story. And the other thing is, that was the idea, was he pitched this as being shock. And it ended up being shock that made everybody tune in, similarly to the connection of the story. The fact that everybody was tuned into this shock, if people were just not watching it, they would have seen the princess out there unharmed and said like, whoa, 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 give him a call. He doesn't actually have to fuck the pig. Mm-hmm. And would have all been over. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that to me is why this is the best episode of Black Mirror, because it storytelling wise to me is probably one of the tightest and most complete stories that they tell, as well as it's indicative of, or it's a cautionary tale of what technology has become and the way that it's actually kind of changed our culture today. It's the old adage of a lie will have gone around the world 5 times before the truth wakes up. So that's why this is a good one to me. What are your thoughts? Because I've talked way too much.
No, it did stand out after all these years. I still remembered some like
imagery.
Yeah. It wasn't my favorite because I think it made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that's the purpose.
It's supposed to.
But yeah, I guess it's up there. I mean, as far as their episodes go, it was definitely one of the better ones. Because the only ones that stand out to me are that one and San Junipero. Those are the only two I can recall. Like, I remember, like, a weird robot dog chasing people.
Yeah.
But that's, like, it.
So, the San Junipero one, what I was talking about earlier is that's probably a better episode.
Yeah.
But is it horror? Like that's a really tough discussion, and I'm actually going to be having another guest on the show specifically to talk about San Junipero and how it is or is not horror. I would personally weigh on the side that no, it isn't horror, but I understand the argument for how it is. Better episode? Yeah, maybe. I mean, as far as like art direction and set design, costumes, the whole like how it jumps between three different eras and not just like 70s, 80s, and today, which are very distinct, but it hits very specific eras like that are not like part of the zeitgeist, that are not
it's starting
boilerplate, and it nails that.
I want to be punchier. I'm distracted.
It's okay. I'm the guest. I'm the one who's doing all the heavy lifting here, I suppose, because this is something I feel very passionately about. So I don't know. I feel like I'm bouncing the story off of you a little bit, but
because again, I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah.
I think I appreciate it more now.
Okay.
From reliving it with you.
Okay. And maybe also the way that it kind of relates to today. Like,
yeah, it definitely means more, I think, today.
It was oddly prescient.
Baby, stop.
So I'll go ahead and wrap it up. We have a very angry child right now. Yeah, this is, I guess. Thank you, Alyssa, for joining me. Thank you also, baby, for joining the podcast. Your farts were great. Your cries are not. And yeah, this is how I end the show.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Ready? Don't go breaking my heart. I couldn't if I tried. If I get restless. Baby, you're not that kind. Don't go breaking my heart. You take the weight off me. When I knocked on your door, I gave you my key. Ooh, nobody knows it. But when I was down, I was your clown. Ooh, nobody knows it. But right from the start, I gave you my heart. I gave you my heart. Don't go breaking my heart. I won't go breaking your heart. Don't go breaking my heart. Eat your heart out, Kiki. Nobody knows it. When I was down, I was your clown. Nobody knows it. But right from the start, I gave you my heart. Oh, Elton, I gave you my heart. Don't go breaking my heart, Miss Piggy. I won't go breaking your heart. Don't go breaking my 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 darling. Don't go breaking my lover. Don't go breaking my
Hey! We look like members of the Rock Age. We look more like members of the Stone Age.